Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talks with Chrissy J. I am your host, Chrissy J, and I am so glad you have clicked on this video to join me today. I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. On this podcast, we talk about relationships, mental health, spirituality, self-improvement, and everything in between. So if any of those topics do resonate with you, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Feel free to also get caught up on previous episodes. We've been discussing a lot of topics, and there's some good information on the channel, and then you can jump into the comment section and get into the conversation. So today I want to dive into a topic that's been heavy on my heart and very personal, and it's my current situation. So I feel like it's a topic that a lot of people can relate to, and that's why I wanted to bring it to the channel today. And that's parenting a teenager who is going through some challenging behavioral issues. So if you're a mom or a dad facing the struggle with your teen, just know you are not in it alone. Okay, I am walking this path right alongside you, and I know it is not easy. But today I'm going to be opening up about what it feels like, the questions that I ask myself, and the hope that I hold on to. So I want this episode to feel like a conversation between friends, just you and me, and a whole lot of honesty. So get comfy, grab a little something to snack on, something to drink, and let's go ahead and jump into the conversation. I know that some of you have been there, and maybe you're there right now. Maybe this is your current reality, or maybe you've just come out on the other side of it. No matter where you are, okay, and it is not easy, and it is not for the weak. It's crazy because I find myself having conversations with God very often these days, and I'm just like, God, what did you see in me that I don't see in myself? Because how do you feel I am fit for this position? I am struggling, y'all. If I have to be honest, I am absolutely struggling, and I feel so defeated. And in every other area in my life, I usually have control, right? I feel like I can control the outcome. But with this situation, as far as dealing with my teenage son, I just absolutely feel like I have zero control. I can hope for a positive outcome. I can pray. But at the end of the day, he is the one ultimately that is in control, right? Because he decides how he's going to act. And based on his behaviors is what his life will be, what his consequences will look like, the path that he is putting himself on. And I think that is the part that I am very uneasy with, and it's hard for me to come to grips with it. I almost feel like I'm losing myself in it because, as a mom, as a parent, we always want the best for our children. We want them to be 10 times a better version of ourselves. And we just, we want to see them do well in life. We want them to grow up and be good, upstanding citizens, right? I mean, that's what every parent wants for their child. That's what my mom and my dad wanted for me. And none of us are perfect. We all have had our behavioral issues, I'm sure, at some point in life. But some are worse than others. And I'm not saying that my son is the worst. He's not the worst. There are parents that have gone and are going through a lot worse things than I am with my son. But I don't like to really compare because everybody's situation is just as urgent to them. You get what I'm saying? So whether your child is playing around with drugs, alcohol, or any like criminal activities, things like that. Although my child may not be doing that, the behaviors that he is displaying, the road that he's putting himself on can lead to that. And that is a possibility down the line. And I'm trying to prevent it from getting there. I'm trying to prevent him from just, going down the wrong path in general. And it is truly, truly, truly a struggle. I mean, you just like find yourself constantly on edge, wondering, if the next conversation will go smoothly or is it going to turn into an argument. There's just this ache that comes from watching your child struggle, and sometimes it feels like no one else truly understands. But as hard as it gets, I do believe that there is always hope, okay? And sometimes it's buried under those tough days, but hope is there. It is there. And that's what I want to encourage you to know, that you might be at your wits' end, and I get it, okay? I get it. You might want to just throw your hands up, walk away from it. I get it. But there is hope, and there is a chance that your child can turn their behaviors around for the better. One thing that I try to remind myself of is that teens today, especially, are going through so much these days. Like, I was just having a therapy appointment with my therapist yesterday, and we were talking about this topic, and I was telling her I really want to focus more on how I can work to establish a better relationship with my son. Be a little more communicative in an amicable way. Like, yes, I am his mother, and no, I don't aim to be his friend, but I do think that you can be friends with your child as well. But you have to set those boundaries in place, because children will take the friendship side of it and drag it as far as they can, and then you'll have to snap them back in place and be like, no, I'm your mother, I'm your father, you know what I'm saying? And they'll be looking at you like, well, what, you've been my friend all this time. And so I feel like part of me is a little scared to open up that door to have a friendship with him, and I kind of want to keep it very parental, and let him know I am your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want him to know my headship to him and have that respect for me as his mother. But I don't know if at times of course, he knows I'm his mother, but I don't know that if at times he wants me to be his friend. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope I explained that right. It's just a lot, and they deal with the pressures that we didn't have to face at their age. If you go out now and look at these teenagers, every single one has a phone in their face constantly. They'll literally be out together in groups and not conversating with each other because everyone is in their phones on social media. They might do a TikTok or something together, but they are completely 100% consumed with their devices. And, we have they have, I should say, social media. They have academic expectations, and then there's peer pressure, and then there's puberty, then there's like that identity crisis, right? It's like, who am I? What are all these changes that are going on with my body? And so it's a lot. It's a lot for them to take on. And I do want to constantly remind myself of that. They do have their mood swings, and they're going through a lot. And I get it. I do get it. I just think it's one of the hardest parts of parenting, to be honest, is parenting a teenager, watching them go through this identity struggle, especially when their behavior is getting out of control. But we do have to remember that their behavior doesn't define them. And I catch myself sometimes acting like, feeling like, okay, this is who my son is going to be. Like, this is his character, right? And that's not necessarily the case. It doesn't have to define him. It's just one part of the journey that he's on. And that's what I wanted to let you all know today. Don't think that right now is your child's forever. There is hope that they can change. They're going through a lot. Like, they're trying to figure out who they are, and they're not going to be trying to figure out who they are forever. Eventually, they're going to know who they are. They're going to know what they like, what they don't like, what they want to do with themselves. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to grow up, and this is going to be in the past. So I just have to constantly remind myself of that, because when I have these moments with him, when he's acting out, talking back, being disrespectful, I feel like, oh my God, this is who he is. He's just a disrespectful, ungrateful little boy, and I really go in on it, and I have to kind of calm down and remind myself, this is just a part of his journey. This is not his forever. And I get it, y'all. I get it. It's very hard to watch from the sidelines and to not feel like we're failing them in some way. That's how I feel sometimes. Like, I feel like, it's just like, as moms, I can't speak for dads, but as moms, and I would assume dads may feel the same way, but to be honest, there's a different type of dynamic, especially when it comes to a son and his father and a son and his mother. It's just completely different. And as moms, we're wired to want to fix things. We want to protect our child from pain. We want to teach them right from wrong. So when it feels like they're slipping away and we're losing that control, the instinct to control everything kicks in, and that's what I'm going through right now. But I've learned that sometimes the best thing that we can do is to give them that space to figure things out while being there to support them through it. So, like, if I see my son is falling, right? Like, or let's say, like, I see him, he's doing something, his behavior patterns are putting him on the path to possibly take a fall. I'm going to do my best as his mom to try to catch him before he falls. Like, hey, you're too close to this edge, back up a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to save him from falling. However, sometimes, and I'm learning this, y'all, as I'm going, and I'm not, there's no handbook to this, right? I can't tell you how to parent your child, and you can't tell me how to parent mine, because we are parenting two different people, and we are two different people. And what may work for my child may not work for yours, and vice versa. So all I can do is give you some insight and some tips and things that I'm trying to implement, and you can do the same. And hey, we might find that one will work and maybe one won't, and that's okay. But having that support system is very, very important. And children need it too. Like, children need that support system, and as do parents. Parents definitely need the support system, especially when you're dealing with a troubled child. I've learned that sometimes the best thing that we can do is let them fall. And I know that that sounds horrible, because, of course, as a parent, we don't want to see our child fall. We don't want to see them go down that path. But it's kind of like an I told you so effect. They have to experience an I told you so moment at some point in life, right? And I can only go back to how I was as a teenager growing up. I wasn't rebellious, but I was very much so like, Mom, I want to have my own experiences in life. I hear that you did that and this was the outcome, but it doesn't mean your outcome is going to be my outcome. And just like you tried it and had your experience, I want to also try it and have my experience. And even though 99.9% of the time our parents are right, we still kind of want to experience it for ourselves. And we're okay with having the bad experience or the good, right? Like, it's like, okay, if I steal my mom's car, there's a possibility that I can get pulled over, I can get in a car accident. Anything can happen. I can get caught and be on punishment, right? Those are the cons. And then the pros to it is, well, I want to steal my mom's car because I want to go joyriding. I want to pick up my friends. I want to have a good time. I want to feel that excitement and that rush. And there's a very slim chance that you might get what you think are the pros out of it, or you can get the cons. So it's like a risk that you're taking, and it's not a smart thing to do. I would never suggest stealing your parents' car, but if they do, they know at that moment that it's wrong. They know this wrong. It's wrong. So we don't have to go back and try to reteach the basics. Like, you have a conscience, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. That's why people lie. People lie because they feel like they know, I should say, rather, what they did was wrong. Or they know that there's a consequence to their actions that they don't necessarily want, right? And so they lie. And that's just what it is. So it is just such a struggle, y'all. Like, it really, really is a struggle. But it's something that I really honestly feel like if you can get a really good supportive community around you, that it's something we can all get through. We can definitely get through this. I want to share something that's been a lifeline for me on the tough days. And yesterday was a tough day. Today, I'm not going to say today's a tough day, but I'm still kind of like in my feels. And I don't know if it's right, if you guys can hear it. But my vibrations aren't really that high today. I'm disappointed, if I have to give it a word. I'm disappointed in my son. I'm very disappointed in his behavior. And sometimes I find myself feeling like, well, if I satisfy his wants, he says he wants these shoes. If I get these shoes, he says he wants to go here. If I take him there, he says he wants this. If I get him this, it's like, after a while, the child is manipulating you. And that's where I'm at right now. My son has been manipulating me, and I don't want that to be the reality, but unfortunately it is the reality. And now, because he has gotten away with manipulating me for so long, now I'm like, enough is enough, right? And so, because I'm putting my foot down and I'm not allowing him to manipulate me anymore, it's now kind of turning into him being rebellious. And that's where we are now. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take away the things that he cares most about: his game, his TV, his phone, and his shoes. He's going to be left with one pair of his newer shoes from this year, and then the rest of them are going to be shoes that he's had for a while, because he's too focused on his image and he's disrespecting his mother. And I did that. I took away those things. He's been on punishment. And then he's constantly talking back. So it's like I took those things away, and it's like, okay, well, now I'm just going to like talk back all the time. Like, he's constantly talking back. I can tell him to be quiet while I'm talking, constantly just talking back. And it's like blatant disrespect. So as I'm telling him, be quiet, okay, because I'm going to pop you in the mouth if you continue to talk back to me. I mean, I'm talking about, like, I'm constantly just threatening to pop him in the mouth, and I never, ever do, right? Never do. And that's another thing. I'm always giving empty threats, and I'm just not the one to want to put my hands on my child. I don't feel like that fixes the issue, to be honest. And I know that everyone has their different ways of parenting. I grew up old school parenting. We had to pick our switch when we were at my grandmother's house. My mom had a belt specifically for butt whoopings only. You know, can I say that it worked all the time? No. Can I say that it worked sometimes? Yes. However, I don't feel like that's my parenting style that I want to adapt. Has my child had whoopings before, spankings? Yes. You know what I mean? But is that something that I go to? No. And I feel like now I'm just giving those empty threats. Like, I'm going to backslap you in the mouth if you keep back talking me. And in his head, he's like, yeah, okay. And then continues to back talk. So last night, without getting too far into what happened, we were basically having a conversation, and I was talking, saying things he didn't want to hear. And I was like, okay, you know what? You're disrespectful. All you seem to care about is your image. So we're going to go ahead and get you a haircut. We're cutting your hair off. It's hair. It can grow back. When you start to pick your grades up in school, have respect for your mother, your sister, your stepfather, and your household, then you can start earning your things back. But until then, we're going to cut your hair off, right? Instant attitude. I'm talking about, you would have thought he lost it all. Okay. And I'm like, what? And the first thing that came out his mouth was, I'm growing locks, and if you cut my hair when I go to school, they're going to be smacking me in the back of my head because I got a fresh cut. And I'm like, okay, so maybe that's what the kids do, when you get like a fresh haircut or whatever. But it's like, he's more worried about getting a slap in the back of the head from his peers than he is about getting back slapped in the mouth by me, his mother. And I'm like, why would that be? Because he knows more than likely 90% chance that his peers are actually going to do it. And it's a 9% chance his mom is going to backslap him. And I think that's just where it is with that, right? Because I give a lot of empty promises. Like, keep talking on my backside, you keep talking on my back. And last night, I'm like, keep running your mouth and I'm going to backslap you in it. And then he just starts backing up. He literally starts backing away from me, running his mouth. And it was like taunting. It was like, yeah, all right, come get me. Na, boo, boo. It reminded me of that. And I'm the mother. And I was getting furious. Like, I was like, this is not it. Like, this is not what we're doing. And I said, if you run away from, I said, come here. And he kept walking away. And I was like, okay, if you run away from me, if I have to come to you and you run away from me, when I catch you, it's going to be worse. And he just took off running, y'all. And I'm like, what is he? I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you running for? Like, you don't even get hit. Like, what is going on? And I'm just so annoyed more than anything because, like, why are you in here acting like a victim? Like, why are you in here acting like you get abused? And I'm like, you're really running? You're going to hit me. I'm like, you're kidding me right now. Like, that's the problem. I don't put my hands on you. You don't get popped in your mouth as you should, right? And so anyway, he didn't get far. He literally like ran to the step. And then I grabbed him up, popped him in the back of his head. I smacked him right in the back of his neck. And he just opened the front door and just took off stomping down the street. No shoes on, just his socks. And I'm like, this is so dramatic. But that was my breaking point right there. Because now you're really being disrespectful. Because as he was walking away, I was like, bring your behind back in this house right now. And he kept going. I said, okay, now this is where I draw the line. I had to call his father. We had a conversation about it, and I'm to the point now where I'm like, this isn't gonna happen. Like, we have to fix this because he is getting out of control and his disrespect is only getting worse. And as he's getting to be more into his teenage years, he's 13. I don't know if I shared that with you guys, but as he's getting older, it's only going to get worse if we don't rectify it now, because he's going to start challenging us. And at that age, I do believe that it might be a normal thing for boys to start to like challenge the men in their lives. But I'm his mom and he has a stepdad here. But as his mom, I just feel like I'm more of a pushover, like it's certain things that he's not going to dare challenge his father. Like he's not going to dare challenge his father. He's probably going to be more fearful of his father. But me, mm-mm. Now, if you're a mom listening, let me know in the comments if you have this issue with a teenage son. The daughters I know can be very mouthy. Me and my sister were super mouthy, talk back a lot. We had like our attitudes, rolling up the eyes and things like that. But I never bucked at my mom. Like I never challenged her to fight her. I remember one time though, she was giving us a spanking and I did get that feeling of like I just want to push her, but I never did. And I always had that level of respect and fear, like I'm not gonna push my mom. And then as we got older, taller, my mom's very petite and short and I'm very tall. Not very tall, but compared to her, I'm 5'8". And I was just like, oh my God, like we can truly stomp walk over her. Like she's so little, you know, but it's your mom, right? And that's how I feel about it. And I'm just like, I understand that in the moment he has his attitude and all of the things, but there should always be that level of respect always. Like this is my mom. And I just don't think it's there for him. And it is super frustrating. Very, 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 very frustrating. And I was talking to my therapist, and I was trying to, let her know, like, I want to figure out ways that I can connect more with him, talk to him more, and just kind of get on his level, like I was telling you, kind of bring more of a friendship into it than me just mothering him all the time. And it's trying to find those like small moments to connect, I feel that I need to focus on and that are important. And sometimes it's just as simple as like sitting together, even if we're not talking about the hard stuff, just kind of being there with each other. It could be maybe watching a show together, sharing a meal, listening without judgment, And I've noticed that for my teen, those small moments that I have had with him do make a big difference. And I felt like we were really on a good page. And then he was doing so well. I was so proud of him. I honestly think that my son's love language is words of affirmation. So whenever he does something, he wants his praise for it. And I was making sure that I was intentional about giving him his praise. Like when he was getting good grades, I'm like, you did a good job. I'm so proud of you. Keep it up. When he did his chores and cleaned the kitchen thoroughly, I was like, good job. That looks so good. Keep it up. And I noticed that when I would tell him those things, he would want to do more of it. But then it's like a light switch went off one day and he just completely was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done trying. I'm done being a good boy. I'm done putting forth effort. And he just kind of fell back and grades started going down. He started half-ass cleaning around the house. When you ask him to do something, he's sucking his teeth. He's huffing and puffing. He's rolling his eyes. All the things. And I'm like, where is this coming from? I try to ask him, like, what's going on? And it's always like, nothing. What's wrong? Nothing, It's hard to get them to talk and open up. It's just a lot, and they may not open up right away, but I do let him know I'm here. And I think that's important, even though I am super, super frustrated. I still have to let him know within that frustration, within my being angry with him, within my being disappointed in him, I still love him and I'm still here. And I think that that is powerful. Now, for those of you that are listening who feel like you're at the end of your rope, I do want you to know that it is absolutely okay to ask for help, okay? Like, it's a tough, tough, tough journey, y'all. Like, it is not easy. And so I honestly don't think that it's one that you can do alone. So I wholeheartedly would say ask for help. And there are different resources out there. There's support groups, there's therapists that can talk to you and your child together. And then, sometimes we just feel like we have to shoulder it all by ourselves, but that's not the case. You don't have to go through this storm alone. And it shows your child the love that you have for him and her when you do reach out and you do try to connect and you do go after those resources. So love your child enough to reach out. You know what I mean? And that is something that you should be proud of. For me, faith has also been a big part of this journey. I try to remind myself that this is a season. Like I was saying earlier, this is just a moment on the journey. Like this is not forever. And although it's one that feels tough, but it's also one that I believe will pass. And so I hold on to the belief that my child will come out of this stronger and that we will have a close-knit relationship, I know that when he was younger, I used to be intimidated or fearful of disciplining him because I was like, I don't want my child to not like me. I don't want him to grow up and we not have a good relationship, because it really does pain me to see people not have a relationship with their parents and them to be so toxic. And I'm like, oh my God, I pray that is never my reality with my children. But even through the storms, we keep our hearts open to our children. And I hold on to the belief that he's going to get through this. And my prayer for us all that are going through this right now is, although we are in our current storm, we have to keep the hope alive that this too shall pass, and that they are going to find their way back to us stronger and wiser, and that this is just a moment in time. This is just a part of their journey. This is not who they are. This does not define them, and everything is going to be okay. So to all the moms and all the dads listening right now who are carrying this weight, just know that you are seen, you are loved, you are not alone in this. Keep going. I know it is hard, y'all. It is so hard. I have moments I just want to break down and cry, but keep going. Even on those days when it feels like you're barely holding it together, remember that you are doing the best you can, and that is enough. Don't beat yourself up about, don't question your parenting. Are you good enough? You are good enough. And if no one has told you, you are doing a good job. Okay. So I want to thank you guys so much for listening, for being here with me today, for being open to this conversation. I feel a lot better, although it was a one-sided conversation on my end and I haven't heard from you all yet. I look forward to the conversation in the comment section. So please feel free to comment below and let me know where you are in the storm, if you've made it through, if you see the storm coming, or if you're in the midst of it, and what did you do to get out of it? What are you doing to navigate while you're in it? And what are you going to do to see if you can keep the storm from coming? So those are all things that I would love to discuss with you all in the comment section. And I know it's not easy, but I am grateful for each of you and the strength that we share in moments like these. So let's keep lifting each other up and supporting one another throughout this journey. And until next time, stay strong and know that I'm rooting for you. And if you made it this far into the episode and you've reached the end, I thank you. If you have not hit the subscribe button already, please do so and ring the bell so you don't miss the next episode.